series. So this one is going to be about building in socio-cultural cues to build a campaign. And these socio-cultural cues will have to be built on the basis of your understanding of what your customer's personality really is. There are some very interesting modules that we are going to share with you, some methods and tips going forward. And at the end, again, as usual, you will have some exercises to do to implement the learning. So without further delay, let's just jump into the module.
So here is a recap of our first module. In our first lecture, we talked about how to develop a campaign around the brand benefits of a beauty soap. You will recall the model that we used, wherein we used confidence and then looked at the various occasions when confidence matters for the target audience. And then we selected the part about the confidence as a reward for a woman who's always determined and gritty in her life. And we looked at some ideas and creative ideation process. We gave you some tips to work with it. This is our solution 2. So the other way of looking at coming up with campaignable ideas is to think social or cultural cues. You need to be able to draw upon social and cultural occasions that India presents in such large numbers. You need to try and innovate to be a part of those occasions so that you are an integral part of either the celebrations or the cause that is the media muse at that point in time. Clearly, it has to form a part of the editorial calendar, and just by being a part of the editorial calendar where regular coverage happens around those times, for instance, Diwali or a Holi, or for that matter, any other festival, or even social occasions like the time when freshers get into college, or for that matter, if you're looking at election time, media is continuously writing about subjects which are associated with those occasions. So you definitely like to be a part of some of those occasions to be media worthy. So how do you really go about doing this? There is a very simple tool you can use. The first step is to start with defining the core personality of the customer. Next, some belief systems. And next, it's about the role models that she follows. I will define this in the next slide. How exactly would you populate these attributes? From a personality perspective, you're looking at, remember, the confident and determined woman. From the belief systems, you're looking at somebody who's fashion conscious, somebody who follows Indian culture and festivals, career oriented, somebody to whom looking good is key, and so on and so forth. And finally, when you're looking at the role models, you're looking at somebody who's got strong family values, smartly turned out, wants to be in charge, a responsible citizen, and so on. All of these things, again, like I said earlier, has to be matched correctly with the defined personality traits of the brand, and your client team will come in handy for this. There is another aside to this, and that is that if you're engaging the client in discussions of this nature, obviously you're attempting to understand the brand better. The discussions are more cerebral, and I think it is going to step forward from just being given a set of things to get coverage upon. Don't you think? I think that's a good idea as well. Moving forward from here, you are looking at then coming up with the ideation process. There are some guidelines to this, however. You should be looking at an idea that a typical person of this type will be very excited about. So the socio-cultural occasion must fit that personality type. You have to then look at bringing out the brand message. So therefore, a beauty soap for the confident and determined woman, what those brand messages would be, and therefore what kind of festival would you add yourself to. Your bottom line has to be to ride on the cultural location that helps connect in some or many of the dots of the personality map. And last but not the least, it must be a campaignable and a media worthy idea. Let's look at an example here. Dabur associated for their skincare brand Fem with the Karwa Chauth festival. For many of you who are not familiar with this festival, it's largely a North Indian festival where women fast and pray for the well-being of their husbands for a day. This is also an occasion for married women to elaborately dress up in their traditional attire and jewelry. It has a very strong look beautiful connotation. Hence, it's an appropriate association for Fem, being a skincare brand. The idea that Fem came up with was that they launched a campaign titled Fem Karwa Chauth Wishes. This was a live social messaging service to let people tweet their message or send out via Facebook posts. The messages could then be seen live on a leading television channel on the day of the festival. They didn't just come up with this idea out of the blue. The idea was a result of a survey conducted by the company that found many of the couples couldn't be together on this day due to work, and therefore they found a way to connect them through the social media messaging and through a leading television channel. Social media therefore was used by its consumers to stay connected, and the idea was generated and taken forward on the Fem platform. A nice little way to get a skincare brand associate with a festival which is to do with beauty and, of course, connecting the customer based on their desire to be together on that particular occasion. This was some of the coverage. You can actually take a look at more such coverage online.
Now that we've gone through this entire module, I hope you have got a handle on how to decipher the customer expectations from your brand and how it fits into his personality, thereby helping you to communicate the right brand messages when you think of a campaign around a cultural or a social occasion. I think, needless to say, this will give you a sense of how big the opportunities can become for you to generate sustainable coverage on any brand that you are handling in your professional lives. After this, there is another exercise that I expect you to take a look at and try and give it a bash in terms of creating a small campaign. And I look forward to having you for the third module, which is case studies. That is where all this will come alive, and you will get to see how some of the leading brands of India have done a remarkable job in using socio-cultural cues and building some great PR campaigns out of it. So have fun and look forward to seeing you in the next one.
So in the end, I hope you have absorbed a nice and interesting way of coming up with some campaignable ideas, ideas that are relevant, ideas that connect the brand attributes to your customer personality, and therefore in the end connect them to an occasion that is a social or cultural occasion, which then delights the customer and helps him or her associate very closely with the brand values. Of course, it gives you then the leverage to ride on the media wave that is associated with such occasions. So here is a quick exercise for you to give it a shot. You can use 3 or more of the following cues, from any one of these areas, whether it's a role model or whether it's the belief systems. You are free to choose the cultural location and then create a nice campaign by associating some of these values around the beauty soap that we have talked about earlier on. Of course, You will not have the benefit of any research over here, but since this is an imaginary brand, I give you the leeway to bring in some attributes that you think can help you flesh out the campaign better. The idea is to see the power of your ideation and how well you are able to connect these dots at the end of the day. So I hope you have fun going through this exercise and see you soon.